Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome back to a final paper of grade 12, paper 2, Geography 2025. You wrote paper 1, it was not so difficult. Now you are headed for paper 2, which is more practical and which you'll be very comfortable writing. But let's quickly go through the content and check. Uh, and remind ourselves what is it that we should know in geography paper 2. Number 1, let's go to classification of settlements. Settlements can be classified in three ways according to their size and complexity, according to their function, and according to the pattern. So what we are looking here, we're looking at the classification of settlements according to size and complexity. So size and complexity, meaning from the smallest to the largest. So the smallest form of settlement is an isolated farmstead, and the largest form of settlement is a megalopolis. So that is the ranking of settlements from the smallest to the largest. Now, when you're looking at the three top settlements there, isolated farmstead, hamlet, village, all these can also be categorized as being rural settlement. But then rural settlement, remember, it's a classification according to function. When you say settlement is rural, we are simply classifying it according to function. Then we continue looking at settlements from town, city, metropolis, conurbation, and megalopolis. So this is now a classification of settlements now according to function as well. So this one we're saying rural settlements is classification according to function, and we're saying rural settlements are unifunctional. Unifunctional. What do we mean unifunctional? It means one type of economic activity. It specializes with one type of economic activity. And when you say settlements are urban, it means now we're saying these settlements are multi. Multi means more than one. They are multifunctional. So what do we mean by multifunctional? There is more than one economic activity, and you know the economic activities that are happening in urban settlements will be your secondary, which is manufacturing. It will be your tertiary, and as well as quaternary. However, quaternary could also be practiced in any other place except for rural area, because this is your research, this is your laboratories. They can be located anywhere. However, you must know what is meant by multifunctional. Now, let's look at the factors that influence the site and situation of a settlement. We have number one, water. We have fertile soil, fuel, building materials, face of this or slope aspect where the sun is facing. So when you're looking at this will be the factors that influence the site and situation of a settlement. However, mentioning them alone is not enough to give you marks. You must be able to explain how did water influence, or what is the importance of the water in the existence of a particular settlement. So you must be able to explain the importance of these factors, or how did these factors influence the choice of site. Let's quickly continue with our settlement types. We said rural settlement and urban settlement. What do we mean by that? Rural settlement is a settlement which has single function, or which has one dominant economic activity. So they have rural settlements have dominance of primary activities, or they are dominating with primary activities. What are primary activities? It is the extraction of raw materials from the earth surface. And an example thereof is your farming, fishing, forestry, mining, and to a certain extent, hunting. Then you have your urban settlement, as I explained earlier, that they have more than one type of economic activity. Which we are looking here is secondary, which is manufacturing, and tertiary, which is service provision. And then we quickly again look at urban hierarchies. So when we're saying urban hierarchies, we're simply looking at the ranking of settlements from the smallest to the largest. So Here we're looking at this different concepts. We're looking at, we said hierarchy refers to the ranking of urban areas according to the criteria of size and number of functions and the degree of specialization of the function. However, this becomes very complex. When you speak of hierarchy, it's easy. You just say it is the ranking of settlements from the smallest to the largest. Now, under this urban hierarchies, we have a central place town or a central place, which is central place town or central place city, which is a town that supplies urban functions to the surrounding uh, rural areas. So you have a town in the center and you have rural settlements around it, and they receive the services from this urban area. Then you have rural here, you have rural right round. So this is where now we're moving to the concept of threshold population. What is threshold population? It is the number of people a function must serve to be profitable, or this is a concept. Remember, you don't have to change the concept the way you understand it. If you say it's a minimum number of people required to make business profitable, however it was taught in class, it must have the same meaning. It doesn't have to have the same weights. And the sphere of influence, the area served by a central place or an area where business get customers from. However you explain it, so long as it's going to have the same meaning, then you have range of goods and services. So the range in this case does not mean a number of things. A range simply refers to the maximum distance that a customer is to travel or is willing to travel for goods and services. And remember, the range of goods and services depends on the order of services. So we have high order services, we have low order services. Low order services are the daily needs. You don't travel longer distance for your daily needs. And then we also have high order services or high order goods, which are specialized. And therefore, you don't travel every day for those services, which means now the range for the high order services will be longer than the range for low order or, yeah, low order goods or services. Now, let's look at types of elements according to function. We've been talking about order of goods and services. So when we're looking at the order of goods and services, we're looking at example of bread, example of milk, and then this will be your daily needs, and therefore you are not going to travel longer distance to access these goods. Because if you are to travel longer distance on daily basis for these goods, you will have more expenses. And then the low order goods and services have got smaller threshold population, which means a smaller shop has got fewer people to buy from for it to remain profitable than a shopping mall or a shopping complex. A shopping complex will be a higher order service because it's going to need more people than a small grocery store. Then we have high order services, which are the services, or the goods that are not used frequently. So the distance for them is longer, or the range for those goods and services is longer, and they have larger threshold population, and there's less shops or services. So like the shopping centers, we are going to have fewer shopping centers because they are high order services. Now let's quickly go into types of towns. Let's go to types of towns. We have what we call a break of bulk. So the break of bulk sometimes is called a bridge. A break of bulk town sometimes is called a bridge. This is where one mode of transport is replaced by another. Like, for example, you're looking at all of your coastal towns. All your coastal towns will be the bridge industry, or will be the bridge towns, not bridge industry, sorry. it will be the bridge towns because you will travel by sea transport, and when you're getting at the sea, then you use either road transport or air transport or rail transport. So that is a break of bulk, a type of settlement. Then you have junction. A junction town is simply a town that is found at the main intersection. Where there are main intersection, that is your junction town. Then you have a gap town. So you can see here we have a mountain, and through the mountain there we have a road there. We have a road through the mountain, and what is going to develop there? People start to settle there. Now we call that a gap town. We call that town a gap town. Then we have another town. So this town is called a mining town. So a mining town, education town, industrial town, resort town, or commuter town. These are simply considered to be these are simply considered to be the these towns are considered to be special towns or specialized towns because these ones will have a dominant economic activity. So we refer to them as specialized towns. So a town like Velkom is a mining town. Just like the origin of Johannesburg, that is why it's called the place of gold. It originated because of gold mining. However, even today we can't say Johannesburg is still a mining town because it has since evolved and it has now developed into an economic hub with many functions there. And then we have another type of specialized town, which is education town, your Stellenbosch for all the universities and other institutions there. And then we have industrial town, Secunda. And then we have resort town, Margate. Then we have commuter town, like Soweto, where people stay and work outside where they work outside where they stay. So in the mornings, those people will commute to the workplace. So we call that a commuter town. Then we are also going to look at urban profile. So when we're looking at urban profile, we're simply looking at the side view of the city. And then what is it that we learn from the urban profile? We learn that how the building density and building height. We learn that the building density and the building height increases when you go towards the city center, and it decreases when you move away from the city center. And there are reasons for that. What are the reasons? Why does the buildings increase with height when you go to the city center? Is because number one, in the CBD, the land is very expensive, and therefore you buy small land, but you build vertically to maximize the potential of the land. And there is high building density. The buildings are vertical and they are offices, and it's used mainly for commercial purposes. Then when you're moving away from the city center, you are going to find where the land is cheaper, and therefore the height of the buildings is going to decrease as well, because the buildings will not be tall, because you can buy large land and build many buildings instead of building one tall building. So the land is cheaper when you're moving away from the city center, and there is lower building density, which means there are fewer buildings there. And the buildings are more horizontal, of which most of those horizontal buildings will be some industries because the land is cheaper. And then you will also have residential areas. Then between your CBD and your industrial and residential, you'll also have what we call transitional zone. So the transitional zone, this is sometimes called the zone of decay. A zone of decay. What do you get in the zone of decay? You get high quality of land or high land value. The land value in the transitional zone is still very high, but the buildings are not taken care of because of what could have been people that abandon the buildings and other people taking the buildings or hijacking the buildings, therefore resulting in the area not being taken care of. However, the value here is still high. The value in the transition zone is still high. It's only the buildings that are not taken good care of. And then you'll have different types of residential areas. And then between the urban area and the rural area, between the rural area and the urban area, that is where you are going to get what we call rural urban fringe. Okay, let's quickly go to activities that are relating to the activity to the revision activities that we have done. Now let's look at the activities here. The question says refer to diagram A and B of the dispersed and nucleated rural settlement. So one of the patterns of settlement, it is what we call uh, nucleated and dispersed. So when you're looking at this one, you're looking at the settlements here. You're saying the settlements here are close to each other. So this is what you call nucleated. And you see the settlements here, they are very dispersed. They are very far from each other. And this is what we call, uh, this is what we call dispersed pattern. This is what we call dispersed pattern. Now let's quickly look at the questions that we have here. Again, what you should know is that you should know the advantages of staying in the settlement and the advantages of staying in the settlement as well. Advantages of dispersed and the advantages of a nucleated. And it is very important that your understanding must also be of, are the advantages social or are the advantages economic? So the questions here are very specific. They don't say give the advantages. It says what are the economic advantages or what are the social advantages or what are the economic disadvantages. So you must be able to categorize those advantages according to that, either according to either social or economic. Now let's look at what questions we have here. This is a short objective questions. It says here you must state whether the question relates to A or it relates to B. Now buildings are widely spaced, so here it simply refers to it simply refers to it simply refers to A. This is where houses are spaced. Sharing farming equipment tools. So these people are closer to each other. Because they are closer to each other, which means now they are able to share. So this one will be a B. Lack of, it lacks privacy. So these people are very close to each other and therefore there won't be privacy. So this will be a disadvantage. This will be a social disadvantage of being in nucleated pattern. Is easy target for criminals. So this will also be a social disadvantage for this settlement because people are isolated from one another. For A. And then basic services are distant or are far. So you can see here the settlements are far from each other, meaning that people will have to travel longer distance for services, which means the disadvantage for this one, it will be this will be a disadvantage for number A. However, when you look at it, these disadvantages or advantages, actually, when you're looking at these answers are the characteristics or they are advantages and disadvantage. Now, they say basic services are distant. So it means now this will be a social disadvantage. This will be a social disadvantage for area A. But now you must classify this social disadvantage as is it economic or is it social? Now it becomes social. Now we can still add on this one and make it economic by saying basic services are distant and therefore the residents will spend more money trying to get services. So it means now it becomes economic. But when you just say it is far, then it becomes just social because you don't indicate how does that affect the income. Then easy to socialize, which one, where will people socialize easy? So it is going to become B. So the correct answer there will be B. Then it becomes social. But you can easily uh, make, you can change this again to make it economic and say easy to socialize, and therefore they can make good decisions because they are socializing, and also improve on production and increase in money. So what I want to tell you is that all factors, all factors or advantages, not the advantages, all factors, characteristics, you can simply turn them to be economic by explaining your answer further. You can turn them into economic by just simply expanding or explaining your answer further. Okay, then they say where farming is associated with more large profit. So this one talks about profit. So it will be this one because one of the reason, one of the factors here is that the land is large. Because the land is large, and therefore there's going to be more production. So this one will be A, reduces the need for manual labor and the cost of production. So this one, because it's dispersed, they are not going to use manual labor because it is so dispersed, and the farming is large, and therefore it is going to become A. So this is the short objective questions on patterns of a settlement. I hope you get how we got those answers. Now, let's continue and look at this other activity as well. This question says, refer to the sketch below showing rural settlement A and B, which is A here and B here. Now, they say they are located in the southern hemisphere. Complete the statements in column A with the options in column B. Now it says settlement B is a dash settlement. Is it a dry point or is it a wet point settlement? So you can see there is B there, and you can see it's very close to a floodplain, but it is also found along the river. So it will become a settlement B. It will be not Y. It is not Y. It is a wet point because you can see it is closer to a permanent river. So it's going to become a wet point, not a Y here. I think this Y is a mistake there. The site of a settlement A is influenced by its location on a south facing or north facing slope. So this one over here, because we said it is a settlement in the, we said it is the settlement in the southern hemisphere, and there is your north there. There is your north there. So this settlement is facing to that north there. So this settlement will be north facing slope. This will be a north facing slope, not a Y. This is a north facing slope. This settlement A is north facing. There is your north, and there is your settlement there. And then we have the land use. Remember why we get to that question? Because we were told that this is the settlement in the southern hemisphere. So this leading statement is guiding us actually to get our answers. The land use associated with settlement B. The land use associated with settlement B. This settlement B, what is the land use associated? Is it forestry or is it agriculture? Because we're talking about floodplains here. We're talking about floodplains and we're talking about the river. So it will be agriculture. It will be agriculture associated with B because it has got flatland and it is also located closer to the river. So it cannot be AZ, it should be and it should be an it should be agriculture because of access to water and because of flat land. The shape of settlement A, look at the settlement A, the shape of settlement A, is it a cross or is it a linear? So the correct one there, here you see the settlement is built along a dirt track. It's built along the dirt track here, or which can be a road. So it is a linear. It is a linear, not this one. And they say a social disadvantage of settlement B. Social disadvantage of settlement B. So where is settlement B? This is settlement B. And you see settlement B is standing there by itself. And then what will be the social? What will be the social? So it cannot be less profit because it doesn't talk about the economic. So the correct answer there will be less safety. Settlement A and B. Okay, let me quickly go back to settlement A and B. Okay, settlement A and B are they unifunctional or multifunctional? These settlements are rural settlements because you can see they are found closer to the source of water, which is river and flatland. So you can see it is a homestead. So they are unifunctional because these are rural settlements. And the physical factor that influence the site of a settlement B, the site of settlement B, look at the site of settlement B. So we're looking at the physical factor there. Is it a road access or is it fertile land? So road access. The physical factor that influence the site of a settlement B, it cannot be road access because road access is not a physical factor. Remember, when you're speaking of physical factors, we're talking about natural factors. So the reason why the settlement is developed there, it will be because of fertile soil. Because you can see the settlement is on a flat plain where there is deposition of fertile soil. So the correct answer there, will be the correct answer there will be a fertile soil. Then nucleated pattern. Which settlement has got nucleated pattern? Is it settlement A or settlement B? But at settlement B, we can only see one settlement there. So it cannot be nucleated because you can only see one settlement there. So which means here, this is where we can have nucleated. This is where we have more than one building which are closer to each other. Let's continue with our short objective question. Choose one term or concept for each of the following descriptions provided. Write a term or concept next to the question number. All right. You choose one term that from the brackets that fit the description here. The question says a resort or specialized town that develops due to the occurrence of main physical resource. Is it a resort? It cannot be a resort. It will be a specialized town. It can be a specialized town because it occurs because of the main physical resource. Because of the main physical resource. Okay, look at this one. This thing is disturbing me here. Let's quickly go back. Okay, sorry about that. A junction or gap town develops at a major transport intersection. Major intersection. So that will be a junction town. A gap will be through a gap. A gap will be through a pass on the mountain. But here we're talking about intersections. So it will be a junction where goods and services are transferred from one mode of transport to another. This one will be a break or bulk point. And then specialized towns or central place towns provides goods and services to the surrounding rural areas. This is your central place town, a natural attraction that leads to the development of resort towns or bridge towns, and a natural attraction. So it cannot be a bridge town, because a bridge town will be where you have one mode of transport replacing another. So the correct one there will be your resort town. Worcester, or a central town or a gap town, is located in a mountain pass. Mountain pass there, it means now it should be a. Let's continue with this question. Let's look at this question. It says the diagram above, which is this diagram. The diagram above, which is the entire diagram, it says the diagram above illustrates an urban profile or an urban hierarchy. So we know profile is the side view of the city, where you're looking at the buildings increasing with height towards the center and decreasing away from the center. But this one is simply showing you the ranking of settlements from the smallest to the largest. So it's going to be an urban hierarchy. The question and the next question is, a conurbation or a city is a large urban area where several towns have joined together. So it will make this a conurbation. The smallest settlement in the diagram is a farmstead or a hamlet. So this one will be the one at the bottom, which is the farmstead. And then, so the correct answer there will be the farmstead. The town or a city has a larger sphere of influence. Now we have town and a city. Between a town and a city, where are we going to have more people coming to buy? So the correct one will be the city will have a larger sphere of influence than a town. The reason will be the city will have more high order services than a town. And then the city or a metropolis has more high order services. And remember, the availability of high order services is going to depend on the ranking of the settlements. The higher the settlement in ranking, the more high order services it will have. For an example, between a metropolis and a conurbation will now have more high order services than a metropolis. But a metropolis will have more high order service than a city, and the city will have more high order services than a town. So that is how you are going to be able to explain that. So the higher the order, the higher the services. So it depends on which one is higher on the ranking. Okay, sorry, I skipped this other one. Now, the minimum number of people required to support a business, is it a market area or threshold population? This will be your threshold population. The maximum distance a customer is willing to travel to buy something, or for goods or for services, that will be your range of goods and services. All buildings in a city that are not maintained and painted, decay sets in, and this is termed what? This is urban blight. So urban blight is simply occurs when the buildings are not taken care of. And then this it makes it important for us to have what we call urban renewal, where we improve the buildings in urban area. Okay, let's continue with our short question. The total area that is serviced by a central place, the central will be your D. It is a sphere of influence. A side view of a town or a city is H. It is an urban profile. Goods that are needed on daily basis. What are they? They are low order goods. And what are the characteristics? They are cheaper and the range is shorter. Minimum number of customers needed for a service to make profit. This is G, which is the threshold population. Describe the ranking of urban areas according to their size and functions. It is B, which is urban hierarchy. We have looked at this question so many times. External appearance of an urban settlement from form and structure. It's C, which is urban morphology. We're looking at the street patterns. Those are your urban morphology. Uncontrolled expansion of a city is a. So I believe now you have seen many of these concepts, and you'll be able to apply the number of concepts in your examination question. Should you get any of them, I believe you'll get a total mark. Now, let's go to other short questions. A central place town services the surrounding rural area, which is number C. Now, A is classified as a low order goods, and A is the bread. So, it is A is classified as a low order good compared to B because number one, it is a low order price. It is a luxury item and not needed. This one is not correct. Has a low order price and consumed regularly, is non-perishable and not consumable, has a higher price and is. So the correct answer here will be it has a lower price and is consumed regularly. So the correct answer here will be a B. Range refers to the what to buy a product. Range refers to the maximum distance travel. That is the range, which is number C. This one is correct. The range of a high order goods. The range of a high order goods is small due to its daily use, is large due to its daily use, small due to its high cost, it is large to its high cost. The range of high order goods will be number D. It is large because we travel longer distances for very expensive goods. Then dash refers to the minimum number of customers needed to make a business profitable. What is that? That is your threshold population, which is B, is correct. The threshold population of a grocery store is low because it has more high order. So there's contradiction, low and high order. High because it has more low order. So it's also contradicting. It is high because it has more high order goods. It is low because it has more low order goods, which is D, which is correct then. The area from which a settlement draws its customers is a what? Is it a threshold population? Is it a sphere of influence? It is a service area, or it is a... So the correct answer there, this will be it is the area. It is the area. So it becomes the sphere of influence, which means this one is correct and all this is incorrect. This one is incorrect and this one is incorrect. Now, let's move now to land reform. So this is a common examination question where you're going to get a question that says define land reform. You must know what is land reform. So land reform simply refers to the policies that are used to redress the injustices of apartheid. It refers to the policies that are used to redress the injustices of apartheid. And we have three of them here. We have land restitution. What is land restitution? When people are given their land back, or compensation. Land redistribution is when people, when previously disadvantaged people are given an opportunity to own land. That is land redistribution. And the land tenure is to secure the rights of those living on land owned by others. For an example, and landlords cannot just overnight chase a person from their land. They need to give them some time to find alternative. What is protecting that person there? It is a land tenure reform. It is to secure the rights of those living on the land owned by others. So a person cannot just wake up overnight and say, move out of my place, because you are protected by the Land Tenure Act. Then let's quickly go through the questions that want us to answer on land reform. The first question there is define the term land reform. We know land reform is policies. Land reform 2, policies. What are these policies doing? They are redressing, they are correcting the injustices of apartheid. They are redressing the injustices of apartheid. So we call them land reform. And then this one is a quote from the extract. So we don't think that this extract is going to come from your next examination. So we cannot answer the questions that are directly from the extract. Let's just focus on the questions that are common questions, not the questions that necessarily come from the extract. So the definition for land reform is a common question that we can answer. And then this one says, provide one reason why land reform is necessary in South Africa. So why is it necessary? This is an application question. This is an application question. It needs you to reason. It needs you to give a reason. So there is no single answer to that. But why do you think it is important? Provide one reason why land reform is necessary in South Africa. Number one, it is to reduce poverty. It's to improve access to land ownership. It is for people to be able to have integrity and dignity to own the land. So there are a number of reasons. Number one is to reduce poverty. Number two is for people to own their own land. And then what will people do when they own land? They can produce their own food. So this does not have a specific answer. It doesn't have one answer. So it depends on your interpretation of this question. So long as you can give the reason why must people be provided land? Why must the challenges of land be addressed? So it has got a variety of options. So there's too many reasons for us to give here. Now, explain two challenges associated with land reform that cause the government not to achieve their goal. The government is not achieving their goal as quick enough as possible. But now, this is another common answers that you can get. Number one, challenge number one is that the procedures are long. The challenge here is now, number one, the procedures to claim land are very long. Is because some people cannot prove that the land is theirs. Some people cannot prove that the land is theirs. And then we have this clause with land reform that is called willing buyer and willing seller. So there are more unwilling sellers. Even when the government wants to buy the land, people that are owning the land are unwilling sellers. So those are some of the challenges that we have. Let me try to write them down. We said, number one, we have unwilling sellers. People don't want to sell the land. Unwilling sellers and willing buyers. By the way, who's buying the land? it is the government is buying the land so that they can redistribute. So we have government which is willing buyer, but we have unwilling sellers. That's number one. Number two, the court processes take long. The court processes take a long time. And now other people can't no proof for land ownership, no proof for land ownership. So people cannot prove that this is my land, and therefore they are unable to, the government is unable to help. And then the processes are expensive. Expensive processes. Remember, for you to go to court, you need a lawyer who is going to go and present your story in court. So it is very expensive. Some people do not have money to go and hire lawyers so that they can speak on their behalf in court. So these are the processes that make it difficult. These are the processes that make it to drag. And then explain two methods that the government can put in place to assist the people that have been relocated due to land reform, which have been relocated. Now, if a person is now given a land to work on, if a person is given a land to work on, how can the government assist them? Number one, the government can assist them with what? Skill development. The government can assist the people with skill development where people will be trained to use the land. That's number one. Number two, the government can give them subsidies. The subsidies that they can use in order to buy machinery or fertilizers or whatever they need for a particular land. So they can give them skills. They can give them subsidies. They can also help the new landowners with collaboration with the existing farmers. They can help them to develop a collaboration so that those who are new in land ownership can learn from those who have been owning land over a period of time. Now, let's look at the questions here. Let's look at the questions. What is important? I want you to identify this arrow. What does this arrow mean? What is this area? So you can see there's a tractor there. What are you associating tractor with? And you can see here we have tall buildings. What are you associating tall buildings with? So associate tall buildings with urban area and tractor with rural area. So the movement here, let's identify movement here. This will be rural and this will be urban. And this will be urban. And because there is an arrow between movement, because there's an arrow between them that shows movement from here to here. So this movement is rural-urban migration. So state and environmental factor that result in the movement of people from A to B. So this question here is very clear. It wants environmental. It does not want social. It does not want economic. It wants environmental factor. So what are those environmental factors? It could be natural disasters. It could be natural disasters. Number one, it could be because of flooding. It could be because of drought. Remember, people in rural areas, they depend on climate for their activities. They depend on climate for their activities. So if there are any physical factor like any of this, so there could be soil erosion. These are natural things that could happen there. These are the natural things that could happen here. There could be animal diseases. Natural things could be animal or livestock diseases or crop diseases. Could be anything. So it must be natural. You cannot talk about poverty. You cannot talk about unemployment. You cannot talk about anything that is not environmental, that is not physical. It has to be. It has to be. You cannot talk anything social. for 1 mark. How does rural urban migration give rise to rural depopulation? This is not even a question. The question says, why does the number of people decrease here when people move here? The reason is simple, is because the people have moved out of rural areas. That is why now we are going to have depopulation. How does rural urban migration give rise to rural depopulation? How does movement of people out of rural areas results in the decrease in population of rural areas? Because people have moved out of rural areas, now the rural areas is going to have lesser people. So that will be the answer to that question. What is the negative economic impact? Now, it is very important that every time when you answer the questions, you must always underline the key words here. What is the negative economic impact? So here it must be economic. It cannot be social, it cannot be environmental. So it must be economic. What is the negative economic impact of rural urban migration on settlement A? Settlement A is rural area. So how will the rural areas be affected economically when people move out? Number one, what do you think is going to happen? Number one, financially, how is rural areas going to be affected? So there's going to be less production. There's going to be less production and less income. So there's going to be less production. People that could produce have left, so there's less production, which leads to less income. Now, again, is there going to be more investment when people are moving out? No. So it's going to result in less investment, which means now the rural areas are going to become less profitable. And again, we can also talk about the government. The government is giving its a budget according to, it's making its budget according to where the people are. So because there will be fewer people, there's going to be less money for people that are left in rural areas. So the municipalities in rural areas will not be able to do their services because there are fewer people and their allocation is going to be lesser. So that's one of the reasons that will happen. And then again, what's going to happen? There's going to be unemployment. It's going to result in unemployment in rural areas. So the cycle of rural decay continues. Remember, the question here says the economic impact of rural urban migration on settlement A. So if the people are going to be, if they now on what are we looking at here? We're looking at what is the negative economic impact of rural urban migration on settlement A. So if the people move out, the businesses are closing, then we're going to have unemployment. We're going to have unemployment. Therefore, with unemployment, it means now there is less income. Less income. So what happens here? There is less buying power. Less buying power because of unemployment. Because of unemployment, and then again, because of less buying power, the cycle of rural decay continues. The shops close down because of no customers. The shops are going to close down. And then when shops close down, what happens? There is no profit. So it is the same cycle that's going to continue over and over. Now let's look at the next question. It says, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, why rural migrants experience difficulty in finding employment in area B? So this question wants, why will people that move from rural areas to urban areas not be able to find jobs there? Why will they not find jobs? Number one, now you must be careful. This question has got 2 parts. It says, explain why rural migrants experience difficulty in finding employment in urban areas. Why rural migrants find difficulty in finding jobs in urban areas. And the impact therefore on their quality of life. So number one, what do? You're going to look at why they find it difficult to find jobs. Then number two, how will that impact on the quality of their lives? Number one, we said rural areas because of lack of skills. Number one, because they lack skills. And now, because they lack skills, they will not get jobs. Now, how will this now impact on the quality of life? Because they did not get jobs, number one, they can't afford. They can't afford basic needs. They can't afford basic needs. So that they can't afford basic needs. Number one, we have to say, explain why rural migrants experience difficulty in finding jobs. Number one, lack of skills. And then how does that impact on them? They can't afford basic needs. Number two, why can't they find job? Number one, you're talking about skills. Now they do not have no qualifications. No qualifications. Remember, this is one of the the push factors. One of the push factors was that in rural areas the quality of education is low. So which means people will not have qualification. Now, if they do not have qualifications, the reason is they do not have qualification. That is why they are not going to get jobs. And now, how will that affect them? They can't afford food. Okay, let's say they can't buy houses. They can't buy houses. That's the reason. Number three, now we said why. Now, some of them can't read and write. Can't read and write. So can't read and write, in short, is that they are illiterate. And because they can't find jobs, remember the question wants you to give the reason why they can't find jobs, and then how is not finding job going to impact them. Now, they are going to result in development of informal settlements. Because they cannot buy houses. But they need a place to stay, so they end up building own houses. Now, another reason why they cannot find jobs is maybe they don't have money. No money to go search for job. They have no money to go and search for job. Now, how is this going to impact on the quality of their lives? Okay, they might resort to social ills. Stealing, getting arrested. So that is how it's going to impact on the quality of their lives. So you must be careful if you get a question like this that want you to answer two parts. Be careful. Make sure that you have answered both questions that are there. So, both questions, because it's the first part and the second part. Now, let's quickly go through this question. What is an urban land use zone? So you must be able to give a definition for an urban land use zone. It simply refers to an area with a specific function. It simply refers to a part of an urban area with a specific function. So we can look at it as say it is a rural urban fringe, it is a heavy industrial zone, or it's a low residential area, or it is a transitional zone, or a zone of decay, or it is a CBD or central business district. So it simply refers to an area with a specific function. Why is CBD located at the center of the city? For easy access. It is located there for easy access. Identify land use zone label A in the diagram. So this land use zone A is a is a zone of decay. It's a transitional zone. It's a transitional zone or a zone of decay. The transitional zone or zone of decay. State two characteristics of the land use zone identified in above here, which is here. State number one, it is characterized by high land value. High land value. The land value here is high, but it has got what? Urban decay. Urban decay. That's what you should know. And then another characteristics there is that it has mixed functions. So what do you mean by mixed functions here? It will have the functions of, it will have residential area. Residential areas can be found here. It can also have businesses that can be found here. So it has got more than one type of function. It's got mixed functions, both commercial and residential. It has residential and commercial functions. Now they say describe the expected topography or relief of the land. Refer to heavy industries zone B. Heavy industry at zone B. So describe the expected terrain or relief where you have heavy industries is large, flat land. Because the industries require large flat land. Because the industries cannot be built upwards, they have to be built horizontally, so the land must be very large. Give one reason for your answer. Why must the land be large and flat? Because that is it is away from CBD where land is cheaper. The land is cheaper in this area. Explain why the CBD and the heavy industrial zone are often considered incompatible. So the CBD and heavy industrial zone, why are they incompatible? Number one, in the CBD, the land is expensive. And then in the heavy industry, the land is cheap. The land is cheaper. And again, in the heavy industry, there is more pollution. In the heavy industry, there is more pollution. So those are clear differences that you will find between the two land use zones. Now, let's look at the CBD again. We continue with the CBD. We continue with our land use zone and continue the CBD. So this is the second question that we're looking at here. So in red here, it says urban blight. So you must be careful what we're looking at here. We're looking at urban area that is not well taken care of. So this is what we term urban blight. So what is urban blight? Is the deterioration of urban buildings and infrastructure in the urban area when the buildings are not well taken care of. So the simple question, which all grade 12 learners should get right. CBD stands for Central Business District. Just for that, that's your 1 mark out of 60. So now your mark you're working out of 59. So it's a free mark there. Every grade 12 learner should know that. Describe two characteristics of the CBD evident in photo A. Let's look at photo A. Describe two characteristics of the CBD that you can see there. You can see crowding there. There is crowding there. You can see tall buildings. So that is what you can see from that. You can see there's overcrowding there. You can see there's tall buildings there. And then refer to the extract and explain what could have led to urban blight of the Johannesburg CBD. Now, We said whatever is according to the extract, we're not going to answer those questions because we're not going to get specifically questions on that. But the characteristics of CBD, the characteristics of the CBD is something that you can get from other question papers, which you should know. And the definition of CBD is something that the acronym for CBD, you should know what it stands for. But this one, it is referred to the extract. So we don't answer the questions that have specific answers from the extract. We only answer those that has got the concepts, that have the concepts that we are learning. Which term or concept best describe the process of change as shown in photo A to B? So this one is also a concept. This one is also a concept. So what do you see here? This concept that you see here is urban renewal. This concept that you see here is urban renewal. You can see the urban area has been improved from this to that. So this is an urban renewal. So this is a concept. This is a concept which is the opposite of urban blight. Urban blight is the deterioration of buildings and infrastructure in the urban area. But urban renewal is the improvement of urban areas. And then in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain the positive impact of the process on the CBD and Johannesburg. Explain the positive impact of the process. Which process? The process of urban renewal. Where? On the CBD and Johannesburg. Now, if there is urban renewal, now you need to, in 4 facts, giving 4 facts. You must give 4 facts. Explain the positive impact of the process. Now, the urban area, what will be the positive impact of the process? And now, what I like about this question is that this question is so open-ended. It does not say specifically social or economic, which means you can give any of the answers that you can think of that are going to be positive impact for urban renewal. Now, what are we going to have? We're going to have more people and more income. We're going to have more people coming, and therefore we're going to have more income. And then when more people come, there's going to be more job opportunities. More job opportunities. And then it is going to, can also look at the social. The area becomes safer. The CBD is safer compared to what it was. You can look at another factors that you will get there. It's going to attract more tourists. That will be the positive things. There's going to be more investment. So this is not limited. So once an urban or a CBD has been, once the CBD has been renovated, once the buildings have been renovated, they are more attractive, and there is number of factors or number of benefits that the CBD will enjoy because of that improvement. Now let's look at another common examination questions could be on informal settlement. So you must be able to define what an informal settlement is. This is a concept. We can say it is a settlement that developed without the permission of the government or without the permission of the municipalities. This type of settlement developed without permission. Without permission or without authorization. This is what we call informal settlement. But again, with informal settlement, you must be careful. Don't confuse informal settlements to informal sector. They are 2 different things. We'll look at informal sector when we go to economic geography. How many shacks according to the source? So we don't need to answer this question. How many questions are because this is not a concept, it's a specific thing. And then quote evidence from the extract. Okay, we don't need to answer this question because again, these questions are based on the extract. And remember, we are preparing for a completely new examination question. We don't know what the extracts are about there. So it's going to be just a waste of time for us to go through that because after knowing how many checks, how is that going to help us? Quote evidence from the extract, how is that going to help us? Because we want to learn the concepts that we can use in our forthcoming examination. Now, explain why informal settlements are vulnerable to storms. Now, this is a concept. This is a concept which we need to know because this question has come in the previous examinations. Explain why informal settlements are vulnerable to storms and fires in the Western Cape. Number one, it will be because of the material that are used. It will be because of the material that are used. It's because number one of the weak material used. It will be again because of the weak material used. That is why they are vulnerable to storms. So if there is a storm or there is wind blowing or it's raining, so these material are easily destroyed and people are affected. So because of the weak material that is used, and again against fires. Why are they vulnerable to fires? Because they are mutated because they are built closer to each other. They are built closer to each other, and again, flammable material. Flammable material. So the reason why they are vulnerable to fires is because of the proximity to each other. They are built very close to each other. Number two is because they are highly flammable. The material used is highly flammable. And again, the material that is used is very weak. So the the settlements there, they easily leak in terms of water going through, and the wind can easily blow the buildings away because of that. So these are the three factors why they are vulnerable to storms and fires because of weak material that is used, because of the flammable material used, because the buildings are very close to each other. So once one building catches fire, then the next building will also be up now. Uh, Settlement are vulnerable. Yeah, because of that. So this is the reason because it makes them very vulnerable. And again, because they don't have roads and therefore it's not easy for emergency services to go and assist them. So that's what makes them so vulnerable to storms and fires. Suggest a measure that the government of the Western Cape could implement to assist households in informal settlements. So it is not only in Western Cape, everywhere where we have informal settlement. What can the government do in order to assist households in informal settlements? In informal settlements, maybe they can provide material, provide stronger building material that will not be blown by water, that is not going to have rainfall leaking into their houses. And then number one, they can provide services, provide basic services. They can also assist with skill development so that people can build their houses differently. What can they do? They can also provide land. They can provide larger land so that people don't build their houses very close to each other so that they are not affected uh, by that fire. And they can also build they can build proper structures. They can build proper structures. Apart from giving people some land and material, they can also build proper structures for those people. So that is how the people can be assisted that are living in informal settlement. Now, what we have here is what we call models. Models. So these questions on models could come in short questions, they could come in long questions. So what you need to know is that we have models, and these models, what the models represent. What do these models represent? These models simply represent. Remember, when you're speaking of a model, you're saying it's a simplified representation of reality. A model is a simplified representation of reality. So, what do models represent? They simply represent the arrangement of land use zones. The model simply show the arrangement of land use zones. So, according to multiple nuclei, what do we learn from that? We learn that cities have got different center, have got more than one focal point. They've got more than one focal point. And then we have this other model that we call the South African apartheid city. So this model is simply influenced by apartheid spatial planning and group acts, where people were placed according to different races. So this is the long and short of this South African apartheid city. And then we have this one. Other model is called a sector model. So what does the sector model show? The sector model simply show that all of the land use zones are constructed. They are constructed in sectors. They are constructed in centers, and each sector has got access to the CBD, or all sectors are radiating from the CBD. So that is the long and short of the models. Most model questions there you will get the short questions, or it could be source based, just like all these other long questions that we looked at. So they will be source based, which means you will read from the extract and answer the questions there. Now, let's look at the internal structure of the settlements as we spoke about earlier. Now, this is what are we looking at here? This is what we call urban morphology. So this is the internal structure of the settlement. So what are we looking at here? We're looking at street patterns. Street patterns. We have two types of street patterns that we're looking at on this diagram, on this map. We're looking at the grid iron pattern, and we're looking at an irregular pattern. So this is the grid iron pattern. What you need to know about the grid iron pattern, you need to know the advantages and the disadvantages, as well as the irregular pattern. You need to know the advantages. Now, let's look at the characteristics of the grid pattern. This grid pattern. So it's on a gentle slopes. It is on a gentle slopes. How do you tell the slopes are gentle? You can see with the contour lines that are far from each other. This is usually the older part of the city. This is usually the older part of the city. How do you tell it's the older part of the city? You can see there. We have monuments there. We have monuments there. So this will be the older part of the city. Those are the characteristics. And then you must know the advantages, and you must also know the disadvantages. So what will be the advantages of this grid iron pattern? So it is easy to lay out. It is easy to build. It is easy to build the green iron pattern because it is found on a flat land. And then it is also easy for you to find your way. It is easy for you to find your way. But what will be the disadvantages? What will be the disadvantages of this pattern? The disadvantages because of the stop go and stop go, it wastes a lot of petrol, which becomes the economic disadvantage. And again, because of stop and go, there are high chances of accidents. high chances of accidents, and then it results in traffic congestion. It results in traffic congestion. And then now let's look at irregular pattern. Irregular pattern, what are the characteristics? It is usually found on a steeper slopes and the latest developments. It is found on the steeper slopes and the latest developments. And then what will be the characteristics there? The irregular patterns are interesting. They are not monotonous. And because there aren't so many intersections, it allows for traffic flow. And as it allows for traffic flow, it also saves traveling time. It saves traveling time. And again, it also, because there aren't many intersections, there are few chances of accidents. And it is interesting to drive on. It is interesting to drive on. It is not as monotonous. It's not as boring as the red iron pattern. So this is the application questions that you could get from your examination question. Now let's go to our economic geography quickly, which is question 2. Economic sectors. We have 4 economic sectors. Number 1, it is primary sector, which is the extraction of raw material from nature. Example is farming, fishing, forestry, mining, and hunting. And then we have another sector which we call secondary sector, which is adding value to raw material, or it is simply manufacturing or building. So this is your secondary sector. And we have tertiary sector, which is provision of services. Example, distribution, selling, education, medical services, and so many. And then we have quaternary. Quaternary simply refers to specialized services which are rendered by professionals, or we can call it advanced technology, like your GIS. It is also quaternary activities. And also administration and information, like I said, GIS and research. So these are the quaternary activities. So now let's look at the primary sector. Under primary sector, we have farming and we have fishing, we have mining, we have number of those. Let's start first with farming. Farming can be characterized by 2 types of farming: large-scale farming and small-scale farming. And like the word says, large. So large-scale farming, large land is used. And because large land is used, there is a need for large machinery that is used. And the production is also large, because you can see there's a lot of cattle there that are being taken from one place to another. And you can see we have large herds of cattle. There's a use of machinery. There's an pesticides that are being used here. So these are the characteristics of large scale. And then this is the type of farming that is responsible for food security. This is a type of farming that is responsible for food security in both local and national scale. At a national scale and at a local scale, large scale farming is responsible. But when you're looking at this one, it's a small scale farming, which means farming is done over a small area. And this one is only responsible for food security on a local scale, because there is no mass production, is fewer livestock that is being kept. It's cultivation over a smaller area, and therefore this is only able to feed smaller populations, or it is only interested in servicing smaller or fewer people. So it is only in charge, or it can only serve local. It can only serve. It can not necessarily serve, but it is responsible for local food security. But this one is for national food security. And then you can see here small land and mixed. So this one has got a mixed farming, but this one is the one that we say it has got monoculture. This one has got monoculture, which means it's usually focused on one type of farming activities, either livestock farming, large livestock farming, or when they produce here, they produce only maize, or they produce sugarcane, or they focus mainly on one crop or one livestock type of livestock. But here it's a mixed farming, and it usually uses manual work. So people are using simple tools, and the machinery that is used there is usually small. Remember, they are not interested in providing or ensuring food security over a large area. So it is only local food security for fewer people. That is why even the livestock there is not as many as the livestock here. Now, let's look at these questions and try to answer them. You have to choose between option A and option B. It's a farming that produces high yields per hectare. High yields per hectare, which is going to become B. Associated with extensive farming practices, which is going to be A, because they are not using a lot of fertilizers. The land is not used intensively. The land is used loosely. There is little input into this land. There is not much use of fertilizers, so this is extensive use of land. Products for the home and export market. So it will be B for home and export market, but this one will be mainly for home market because it's done over a smaller scale. Farming described as a small scale farming. This is A. Farming associated with monoculture. So this one is A. Monoculture is B because mainly it is a specialized kind of farming. So mainly it is done for one type of crop. Farming that is capital intensive and use advanced technology, which is B. Capital intensive. It uses a lot of resources. It uses a lot of money. It uses a lot of fertilizers, and it requires high technology. So it is capital intensive. Farming that focuses on food security in a local community. This will be A. Farming that produces a low yield per hectare. This will still be A. So those are the short questions that you'll get on that you can expect on farming. Now, here are other short questions here on secondary sector. The largest industrial region in South Africa is the PWV. The activity dominant in the Durban Pinetown industrial region, is it winemaking? Is it motor car assembly? Is it sugar refinery? This will be your sugar refinery. The physical factor influencing the location of the Durban Pinetown. So it wants the physical. So when you're talking about physical factor, we're talking about the natural factor. Is it minerals? There aren't many minerals, which means it is wrong. Is it harbor? Is harbor is a harbor a physical factor? No, harbor is a man-made factor. It's not physical. Is it labor force? No, labor force is humans. So the physical factor there is rainfall, because we also said there is a lot of sugar refinery there. The only core industrial region that is landlocked. Landlocked means it does not have access to sea. Is it the PWV? Is it the Southwestern Cape? Southwestern Cape is not waterlocked. There is a coast there. Port Elizabeth is not landlocked. Durban is not landlocked. So the correct answer there will be A. The two types of industries associated with bulk transport. Bulk transport means the transport that transport huge and bulky goods. Is it Ubiquitous industry, is it heavy industry, is it light industry, or is it the raw material orientated? So what is ubiquitous industry? The industries that are located everywhere where there is a market. So industries that are located everywhere, or the industries that cannot be separated from their immediate market. So they become ubiquitous. So we want bulk transport. So the correct one there will be heavy industry, and heavy industries need a lot of raw material. So the correct answer will be Roman figure 2 and Roman figure 4. So this is incorrect and this is incorrect. So Roman figure 2 and Roman figure 4, Roman figure 2 and Roman figure 4. So which means this answer is the most suitable answer. The core industrial region that benefits from Kinshasa Airport, is it Durban, is it Gauteng, is it Durban Pinetown, is Southwestern Cape? So the correct one there will be Durban Pinetown, because Kinshasa is in KZN. Electricity in the Gauteng province, in the Gauteng or PWV. So this region is called PWV, or it is called Gauteng. So when you get the question that say identify the industrial region, so you can call it Gauteng or you can call it PWV. So it is indicated there. The electricity in Gauteng or PWV industrial area is cheaper as it is located to coal fields. It's not located to iron ore, because iron ore is not used to make there is iron ore, but iron ore has nothing to do with electricity, because we don't use iron ore for electricity. And unfortunately, there is no international harbor in PWV, and raw material has nothing to do with electricity. What is important with generation of electricity is the coal fields. So this one becomes the correct one. This one incorrect, this one incorrect, this one incorrect. The hindering environmental factor for industrial development in South Africa. Environmental. So here it must be environmental. So is it labor strikes? Labor is not environmental. Is it load shedding? Load shedding is not environmental. Is it high transport cost? It is not environmental. So the only environmental factor there is pollution, which is the correct answer. Now, choose the correct weights given in brackets. Write only the weight next to the question in answer book. Now, here, which industry, light industry or heavy industry, cover large area and tend to cause more air pollution? Large area is heavy industry. A power station is an example of a market or raw material. Power station is a power station. There is no market there. So it is a raw material orientated. The location of footloose or ubiquitous industry is not determined by the location factors such as raw material, transport, and market. So the correct one there is footloose. Remember, ubiquitous industries are industries that could be located anywhere, but they cannot be separated from their immediate market. Ubiquitous industries cannot be separated from their immediate market. So this one says the industries that cannot, the location of these industries is not determined by either location factors such as raw material, transport, or market. So market is there. So ubiquitous cannot be separated from the immediate market, which means market is the influence or market influence the location there. Industry that is not influenced by anything, raw material, transport, or market. Then, light industry or heavy industries can be located around the CBD. It cannot be heavy industry because heavy industries are located far from the CBD. So this one is incorrect. The correct one is the light industry. Market or raw material orientated industries generally produce low order and perishable goods. So it will be the market orientated industries which are located closer to the market, or closer to the customers, not the raw material. Raw material are located far from the market, and they don't necessarily produce perishable goods. They don't produce perishable goods. So the raw material, so the market oriented industries will be your light industries. So there's a link between market oriented and light industries, because your market oriented are those industries that you will find closer to the customers. You'll find them closer to the customers. Those are the industries like your bakeries and as well as your dairy industries. So they are selling perishable goods, and they are also light industries. And you can also look at them as being ubiquitous because they are market orientated. Market orientated means they cannot be separated from their immediate market like your ubiquitous industries. So there will be a lot of similarities between these industries. So you will see that one industry could have characteristics of more than one. One industry could have characteristics of more than one. Like when you're looking at this industry, you said the two types of industries associated with bulk transport will be the raw material orientated and the heavy industry. So this industry will have, one industry can have characteristics of more than one industry. And now 2.2.6, rich industry or raw material orientated. Rich industry or raw material orientated industries are located near harbors where raw material are imported. So this is rich industries. They are located near harbors. So another name for bridge industry is what? Is break off bulk. Is break off bulk. So those are the industries that are located near harbors. Now, let's look at our question on sugarcane. According to the infographic, how many direct jobs are created? So we said, according to the infographic, we are not going to answer that question because it is not a concept. It's a question that's going to change from one source to another. There is a general decrease in sugarcane production in South Africa. Explain at least one factor that contributes towards this decrease. So this one is a concept. This one is a concept. What does this question want? This question wants, what are the factors that hinder sugarcane farming? There is a general decrease in sugarcane production in South Africa. So, and again, what I like about this question, what I like about this question is that this question is not specific to any factor in particular, be it's environmental, social, or economic. You just want to explain at least one factor that contributes towards this decrease. Number one, we can look at the social factor. We can say there is labor unrest. You can say there is labor unrest. You can say climate change. You can say shortage of rainfall. So on this one, you can give number of factors that will affect, that will result in the. You can also talk about different factors such as availability of flat land or fertile soil. So here you can give a range. You can give factors that will hinder farming. You can give any factor that you think will hinder sugarcane farming. It cannot be economic, social, or environmental. You can give any example. Discuss why the two provinces mentioned in the infographic are favorable. So this was the factors hindering. So if you studied factors hindering sugarcane farming, you'll be able to answer this question. And now here, discuss why the two provinces mentioned in the infographic are favorable for sugarcane. So here, what do you want? You want factors that favors sugarcane farming. So number one, you look at the rainfall. High rainfall of 1,000 millimeters and above. That's number one. You're looking at sunshine. That's number two. Sugarcane requires a lot of sunshine for it to grow. You're also looking at availability of labor availability. There are people that are working on those sugarcane farms. And then another factor that is very important for sugarcane farming, we said rainfall, we said sunshine, we said availability of water. And then it requires fertile soil. It requires fertile soil. So because this is a sugarcane is a perennial crop, which means it grows throughout the year. So it's going to require rainfall throughout the year. And then also it requires a lot of water. It requires a lot of water. So this will be the factors that will favor sugarcane farming. So this one is a concept. It requires factors favoring. This one is also a concept. It requires factors that are hindering sugarcane farming. Now, another question is, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain the importance of sugarcane production to the South African economy. The importance of sugarcane farming to the South African economy. So, what are the importance of sugarcane farming in South African economy? Number one, what do we think of sugarcane farming? Does it create jobs? Yes, it creates jobs. Yeah. Number two, does it provide for GDP? Yes, it boosts GDP. Also, you can say it also boosts it it boosts the local economies. It boosts the local economies. So when you say it boosts local economies and when you say it boosts GDP, you cannot say GDP when you're talking about local economies. You talk about GDP when you're talking about the country. So it does create that. What will be the other economic importance of sugar cane? So it provides raw material for exports, raw material for export, and because raw material for export, now what do we gain? We gain foreign earning. We gain foreign earning as a country. So foreign earnings. So this will be your economic importance of sugarcane farming in South Africa. Now let's look at this important concept as well. It's called food security. Food insecurity. So you need to be able to define the concept food insecurity. What is food insecurity? So every time when you study food insecurity or food security, we must study it with each other. You must study food security with food insecurity and food insecurity with food security. So what is food security? When there is availability of nutritious food. Food security. Security is when there is availability of nutritious food to all at all time. So not availability, should be accessibility. Food can be available, not accessible. Accessibility means that people can afford to buy that food. So it can be available but expensive. So it's going to result in food insecurity. So it must not be available, but it must be accessible. It must be afforded by all. Now the opposite of this is when there is shortage of, or when there is not, when there is no accessibility, where there is no accessibility of healthy, nutritious food to all to live healthy lifestyles, to have healthy lifestyles. So, which means here you can also add the same here. When there is accessibility of nutritious food to all at all times, to live healthy lifestyles, to live healthy. So, insecurity, there is no access to all to live a healthy lifestyle. So that is the difference between security and insecurity. Now, you are able to define that. According to the extract, how many people? You said we don't answer those questions of according to extract because we are looking at the concept. You want to answer the concepts, not the specific questions to a specific extract, because those questions will be different from time to time. So if you want that answer, you come here and you read from the extract. Suggest how the poor provision of services mentioned in the extract contribute to food insecurity. Now, here we're looking at what services here? We're looking at the basic services, including health, water, hygiene, and sanitation. How will lack of these services influence food security? So without water, it means people will not be able to do farming. Without good health, people will not be able to do their work. In an unhygienic condition, people will be sick and therefore will not be able to produce food for themselves. With poor sanitation also, there's going to be spread of diseases and people will not be able to produce food for themselves. So this one you could get from that. In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain how the South African government can assist people facing hunger. Number one, how do we assist people facing hunger? By speed up. You can speed up um, land reform. The government can speed up land reform. So if the government speed up land reform, ensure that people have access to land. When people have access to land, people will be able to produce their own food. Number two is skill development. So that people are able to produce their own food. And it's the creation of job opportunities. Create job opportunities. Create job opportunities so that people are able to work and earn living and therefore buy their own food. You can also provide basic services like water for people to produce their own food. Gold mining. What is the importance of gold mining? Gold mining contributes to the GDP of South Africa. Just like all other economic sectors, they contribute to the economy of South Africa. So contribution to the GDP of South Africa, it will be gold mining, it will be farming, it will be secondary sector, tertiary sector. All economic sectors contribute to the GDP of South Africa. And source of employment in South Africa. In as well, all sectors of economy are the source of employment everywhere. And then gold mining also has a multiplier effect. What is multiplier effect? It is additional economic development in response to a new expanding part of the economy. So simply, what does that mean? It means one industry leads to the growth of another industries. So that is your multiplier effect. Gold mining attracts foreign investment. Gold mining help to earn foreign exchange. Now let's look at the gold mining. Gold mining is not all good. There are some negative impacts of gold mining to the environment. What are the negative impacts? Yeah, it destroy natural environment, and then because of that, it destroys natural habitats, and then it destroys the land. Chemicals also are going to cause water and land pollution. It results in sinkholes and power stations. They can provide carbon dioxide that is released and contribute to global warming and climate change. So, as much as gold mining is going to bring positive impacts in economic growth, it also has some negative environmental impact. Now, let's in South Africa. To which economic sector does gold mining belong? You must all be knowing that because gold mining is extraction, this will be primary sector. Name the gold mine found in the Free State that you have there. Name the gold mine in Free State that you have. You'll look at the gold mine in the Free State there. It is circled down there. I said this is according to the extract, so we're not going to pay much attention to that. We're going to pay attention the to the to the concept. According to the table, which province has the highest gold reserves? So you have to just interpret this table and see which one has got the highest number. So this will be based on the table. Quote evidence from the extract that gold mining is a backbone. So you quote from the extract here. These different extracts will have different quotations, so we're not going to pay much attention to that. Suggest two factors that resulted in the decline of gold production for the past 3 years. So this one is factors that hinders. This will be the factors that hinders gold mining. But in this case, it will be according to the extract. So it will be according to the extract. State two factors that resulted in. So what will be the factors that hinder gold mining? Number one, it will be labor unrest. Number two, what will be the factors that could contribute to the decline in gold mining? It will be fluctuating gold prices. This is going to impact on whether people are going to buy our gold or not buy our gold. If the gold is expensive, people will not want to buy it when it's expensive. They will want to buy it when it is cheaper. Explain how the decline in gold production in South Africa will negatively impact the economy. So when you're looking at the economy, you're not only looking at the economy of the country, because that question does not say the economy of South Africa. It says the economy. So number one, it will result in job losses. And if there is job losses, it means there is going to be loss of income. Loss of income is going to result in a decline in GDP. It's going to result in the decline in GDP. It's going to result in the decline of GDP. Okay, now we're looking at secondary sector, which refers to the processing of raw material into semi-finished good and finished good, or simply it is the manufacturing of goods. So I'll advise everybody to go this manufacturing of goods or processing of raw material into finished goods. So that is our secondary sector. So there are very important concepts that you need to know. Number one is GDP. What does GDP stand for? You have to know that it stands for gross domestic product. And what is GDP? It's the value of all goods and services produced in a country over a period of 1 year. And GNP is the total value of goods and services produced by the permanent citizens of a country in 1 year, which means now the permanent citizens of the country may not be working in a country. Then we have types of industries, your footloose industries. These are the industries that can locate in any place without being affected by factors such as raw material, or we have done this, and ubiquitous industries that are inseparable from the immediate market. So the difference between your footloose and your ubiquitous is that your ubiquitous cannot be separated from your immediate market. But footloose, they are not influenced by either the raw material nor the market. Then what is foreign exchange? You always say the importance of economic activity is to earn foreign exchange. What is foreign exchange? Is the money that's paid to South Africa by other countries, e.g. dollars, pounds, all currencies. Formal sector refers to all the registered businesses, and informal sector refers to all unregistered businesses. Then you have your bridge industry, industries that are located between the source of raw material and the customer. And then you have balance of trade, which is the value of export minus the value of import. And you have balance of payment, which is a financial statement showing its transaction with the entire world. So your balance of trade can either be positive or negative. Balance of trade can be negative or positive. When does the balance of trade become positive? Is when the value of exports is higher than the value of imports. Remember, imports, you are spending money because you are buying, and exports, you are gaining money because you are selling. So when you sell more than what you buy, or the value of what you sell is more than the value of what you buy, then you're going to have positive balance of trade. But when you buy more than what you sell, or when the value of what you sell is lower than the value of what you buy, which means you are going to have now a negative balance of trade, which is not good for a country. And then balance of payment, remember, it refers to all the transactions that the country makes. So it means during export, the country gets slips or receipts, and then during export and import, all those when the country puts all those documents together, it's what they have as balance of payment. All the transactions. So you take all the receipts that the country has made when they were exporting and when they were importing. We put them together, you get what we call balance of payment. Now, secondary sector, the importance there is to create employment, just like in primary sector, just like in mining, empower previously disadvantaged communities, help to increase the production of raw material, help to process raw material. So, which means now it also leads to multiplier effect. Because the secondary sector, they manufacture machinery that is used in primary sector and also in secondary sector. So it leads to the manufacturing of other products. So that is what we call multiplier effect. And then what are the factors that favor industrial development in South Africa? Availability of water, availability of labor, electricity, good transport network, and availability of market. Now, let's do a map application or map interpretation of factors that will favor industrial development. Now, what you're looking at here, you're looking at the power lines. So if you get a question, say, what are the factors that favor industrial development in block C1 or whatever block? So you look at these factors that favors industrial development. So you're looking at this area here. This will be your industries. But on the map, this is going to show buildings. On the map, this will be represented as buildings. But now you're looking at the characteristics of the buildings that you're looking at. Then you can decide whether these buildings are a school like this one. You can see there's an S there indicating that it's a school also here. So this is usually the this is usually the buildings that will be representing industries. So you can see here, what do we have here? We have labor. How do you see that there is labor here? You can see there is a built up area here, which is a residential area for people. There is raw material. How do you see this raw material here? There's orchards here. There's orchard all over here. And then that is where the raw material can come from. And there is variety of transport network here. So what do you see? There's railway here. There is roads. So there's variety of transport. There is access of water. You can see there's a river there. You can see there's a dam there. So which makes now these are the factors that favor industrial development. And now you can see this area over here. Try to check the contour lines here. So there aren't many contour lines here, indicating that this area is flat. Indicating that this area is flat. So this is the factor that favor industrial development on this map, a gentle gradient or a flat land. And then here you have other built up area here. You have other built up area here. It could be a town here or residential area here, which also provides a market to the industries, which also provide the market to the industries. Now, let's look at our four core industrial regions. We have this one that we call PWV, or it is also called Gauteng. Then we have this one, Durban Pinetown. We have Durban Pinetown, and we have Nelson Mandela Bay, and then we have Southwestern Cape. But for 2025 examination, our focus is in PWV or Gauteng and Durban Pinetown. These ones, you must just know where they are located. But for details, you need to know PWV and Durban Pinetown. And what do you need to know more there? You need to know type of industries there. So in Gauteng, we have aircraft industries, we have chemical industries, we have iron and steel industries, and we have motor industries. Let's see PWV, Durban Pinetown, what we have. We have chemical industries. Also, we have chemical industries. So if you learn one industry, chemical industries, you'll be able to answer that for two industrial regions. Then we have oil refinery, we have sugar milling, and then we have shipbuilding industries in Durban Pinetown. And then let's move Pretoria, Witwatersrand industry or PWV or Gauteng. So what are the factors that favor industries in PWV? We have good transport network. We are well linked to other regions because PWV is very centrally located, so it is easy accessible. Then we have a large market. We have raw materials. We have skilled labor. We have power station available or electricity. We have supply of water from Tugela Val water projects, and there is many tertiary education or tertiary education institutions which ensure that there is skill development for people to work in industries and become productive. And PWV has a relatively flat land, which is very conducive for industrial development, or which is important for construction of industries. So these are the importance of that. Now, what are the factors that hinder the PWV? What are the challenges? Number one, it is over concentration of industries. This over concentration of industries is going to lead to pollution, is going to lead to strain on available resources, There is load shedding as well. There is a strain on transport infrastructure. There is the PWV is far from the harbors, and therefore it makes exporting of goods very expensive because you have to go. You have the goods have to travel longer distances, which is going to bring a lot of travel or transportation cost. Industries create a lot of air pollution, which is the physical factor that hinders industrial development, labor unrests. There's a safety issues there. There's power struggle between labor unions and industries. There's production decreases due to workers taking more sick leave because of pollution and other factors. Hard lockdown also impacted largely on industrial development. Some of the industries have not even recovered, even now, from the hard lockdown that was experienced in 2020 in South Africa and across the world. Now, let's quickly look at the typical examination questions that we can expect based on PWV. Mention one main industry in Gauteng industrial region. So by just looking at this, you would be able to give the industries that are found in PWV. But now, because this is a source-based question, you must refer to the extract here. Mention one main industry in Gauteng. But now this question does not say according to the extract, which means now you bring your information that you have learned, because it does not say according to the extract. Now, what problems are Gauteng likely to face because of unreliable electricity supply according to the extract? So this one is based on the extract. You just read the answers from the extract. State two physical natural factors that influence the location of this industrial region. So this one does not want you to quote. So it could be any other factor. So state two physical or natural factors that influence the location of this industrial region. So you can talk about flat land. You can talk about water access. You can talk about raw materials, because the question does not say according to the extract. So you can refer to the extract. You can also bring in the knowledge that you know about factors that favor industrial development. Let me say, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain why the PW Gauteng or is preferred destination for Ford Motor Company. Why is it a preferred? In a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain why the PW Gauteng Industrial is a preferred destination for Ford Motor Company international investors. So what are you going to look here? You are going to look at the factors that make it accessible, or the factors that favor industrial development here. Number one, you look at availability of labor. This place, PWV, has access to labor. You look at, again, its accessibility. It is highly accessible. What else do you look at? Because it's a preferred company for this. And then you look at the market. It has got market. And then what are you looking at? We look at the availability of raw material that makes the industries to function there. You look at the infrastructure. You look at the infrastructure that is available for transportation of goods. And then you look at the access to international market. You look at the access to international market. So these are the factors that you could look at for Gauteng as a desired or as a preferred destination for Ford Motor Company. Now, let's move to strategies for industrial development. We've been looking at the core industrial region, which is Durban Pinetown and PWV for 2025 examination. Now, let's look at what are the other strategies for industrial development that was developed by government. Number one, we have this, what we call Industrial Development Zone or IDZ. This is an industrial zone that has been identified especially for export-driven industries. And then we have Spatial Development Initiative, which are the areas that have been identified in South Africa as having the potential for economic growth. Or you can simply say they are the they are transport and development areas along major transport routes. And then we have this concept. We have this concept of decentralization. Concept of decentralization, which simply means you have things in the center and now you're putting them away from the center. That is what decentralization is placing industries away from the center to the boundaries, or we can say periphery. So that is what industrial decentralization is. So you must be able to define these concepts. What industrial development zone is. We say we can also define it as a purpose-built industrial estate. It is a purpose-built industrial estate to support export. It is a purpose-built industrial estate to support export. And then you must be able to define this as well. Spatial Development Initiative, you say it is areas that have been identified in South Africa as having the potential for economic growth, or you can say it is the development that takes place along the main industrial regions, metropolitans. So you could say you should be able to give the characteristics of spatial development zone. So if you want to define a concept easier, you must look at, for an example, let's look at this one. Let's look at this one. Let's look at the PWV. So you see, you're looking at this place, this place, this place, this place, this place. And this is an SDI. This is an SDI. So if you are to make a definition, you must give the characteristics. You must give the characteristics of this. So what do you say now? You say it is a development area, or it's a corridor which is linking these metropolitans, which is linking these metropolitans together. So try to find a simplified method. Try to find a simplified method instead of trying to remember the concept as you were taught in class. Think of it, put different things together. You're putting Johannesburg here, you have Middelburg, you have all those things. And then when you're looking at this, it is a corridor. It is a corridor. But what is this corridor doing? It is joining these places together. It is joining these places together. So how do you now define it? You say it's simple. It's a corridor along major transport route. So this one will be here along this transport route here, which will be your rail transport, which will be your road transport. So this is your Maputo corridor. So You can also define it as a development corridor along major transport routes, or you can complicate it and say it is a transport and communication link between major industrial areas, metropolitan. So it is very long when you use this one. I advise you not to use this one if you want to get it easier. Use your understanding of what is it doing. It is linking. It is linking what? It is linking industrial regions or industrial areas and metropolitans. And now, what are the aims of this SDIs? Is to develop existing transport infrastructure, is to create environment for private sector investment, initiate economic activities along transport corridor, improve trade, to improve international trade for export. So there are many aims that you can learn from that or that you can give. Now, let's look at the activities that you can get from. You see now, the very same diagram for Maputo corridor. This is so predictable. So if they say identify the corridor, so it will be the same structure of the same structure or the same diagram. So you cannot miss this Maputo corridor. Let's look at what do we have there. Let's look at the questions. Let's look at the questions. Let's look at the questions. Which country is linked to South Africa by the Maputo? So now here is Maputo. So you must know where is Maputo found. Where is Maputo? In which country? So from there you'll know it is Mozambique. Which country is linked to South Africa by Maputo corridor? Number one country that you should know is it's Mozambique. But then you can come here and look at other countries in a diagram. So you can see there is Maputo there. You can see there is Swaziland there. So you can give more than one country there. What was the initial aim of launching the Maputo Corridor Spatial Development Initiative as stated in the extract? As stated in the extract, which means you have to read the extract to get the question. Name the core industrial region that will benefit the most from the Maputo corridor. This Maputo corridor, you see, it's starting from Johannesburg and it's going through like that. So, which means here it will be the Gauteng industrial region. How will the Maputo Corridor Spatial Development Initiative create business opportunities for underdeveloped communities along the corridor? How will the Maputo Corridor Spatial Development Initiative create business opportunities for underdeveloped communities? So what will happen there is going to result in infrastructure development. So with infrastructure development, that's number one. That's what we're going to get. Is going to increase accessibility. Is going to increase accessibility of this area. How will the Maputo Corridor Spatial Development Initiative create business opportunities for underdeveloped communities along the corridors? There's going to be infrastructure development. There's going to be an increase in accessibility of this area. Is going to create job opportunities because there's going to be development of hotels, motels. It will encourage the people that are doing craft. People, when people are passing, they can buy the products there. So it will support the communities. It will support communities because it's going to stimulate. It's going to stimulate tourism. It is going to stimulate tourism. And tourists will be passing the place and will be buying. Now, say in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, explain how the upgrading of the different types of infrastructure positively impacts on trade for the core industrial region. They say answer to question 2.4.3. Name the core industrial region. So what must you do? You must explain. You must explain how the upgrading of the different types of infrastructure positively impacts on trade for the core industrial region, which is the PWV. So now, what are we looking at here? We're looking at we're looking at what? Upgrading of the different types of infrastructure. So you're looking at what infrastructure? Number one, you're looking at the road infrastructure. How will road infrastructure impact on trade for the core industrial region? So it's going to increase accessibility. It's going to increase accessibility. Road infrastructure. So there's going to be educational. There's going to be educational institutions. There's going to be educational institutions. How will educational institution assist there? There's going to be skills. There's going to be skills. What else is going to develop there? There's going to be electricity. How will electricity assist? Electricity is going to help with production. Electricity is going to help with production. What else is going to, because we're talking about what? Infrastructure. We're talking about infrastructure. So the infrastructure, upgrading of different types of infrastructure. So we have water infrastructure. How will water infrastructure assist there? It is also going to assist in production. Remember now, when you're looking at the Maputo corridor, you're not only looking at one type of activity. There are agricultural activities taking place along Maputo corridor, which means water availability will increase, which means water availability will then increase on farming productivity. Electricity will help with industrial production. Educational institution will provide skills that are needed for electricity production, for water maintenance, and what cleaning, for manufacturing in general. So road infrastructure for accessibility. And then what other infrastructure can you look at? There's going to be also the development of hotels, because that's another things that are going to develop there. So if you have hotels, what is hotels going to do? There's going to be tourism. It's going to improve tourism. So there is number of infrastructure that you can talk about here. There's a lot of infrastructure that you can talk about here that will improve or that will help to develop the core industrial region. So you just think of any infrastructure that we have. Apart from that, there's going to be telecommunication that's going to improve. So telecommunication is going to improve the communication and therefore improve the production and the development. We can also talk about technology. Technology is also going to improve. And then when technology improves, it means, so there's going to be technology as well. So there is a lot of infrastructure that is going to develop there. Now, let's look at the dubious trade port. You need to look at the factors that favor dubious trade port. This trade port is usually effective infrastructure, and it has seamless service provision and available incentive, which gives business a competitive edge. So businesses will be subsidized. There is airport there. There are two seaports there. There is major freight corridors between Gauteng and the Durban and Richards Bay. And then there is bouquet services that are available there. There's government support. So these are the factors that are going to favor industrial development in this Dubai trade port. And then what are the challenges there? Is cash flow. There isn't enough money. And then IDZ can only suitable in a few regions. So it is over a small scale. So it hinders development because of a small scale. And small scale means that there's going to be less money. The factors that are going to hinder Dubai Trade Port, the nature of support IDs receive in the past, which has seen the government putting emphasis on infrastructure while ignoring other critical support areas. So it takes all the money, and therefore other developments are being ignored. Poor planning is another problem. Lack of skilled labor is another problem. Now, let's try to answer these few questions. Define the concept industrial development zone. We have already looked at what is the industrial development zone. We said it is a purpose-built industrial estate to support exports. And then according to the extract, name one company that invested in Dubai Trade Port. It's fine. You are not going to get this extract anymore. So you need to look at the concept. How does the foreign investment increase the Dubai Trade Port contribution to the gross domestic product of South Africa? How does the foreign investment increase the Dubai? So it results in more income. How does the foreign investment increase the Dubai Trade Port contribution to the gross domestic product? How does it help? There is more income made by Dubai Trade Port. It increases the job opportunities, or it creates job opportunities. In what way does the creation of jobs by the Dubai Trade Port impact positively on the people of KZN? So improve quality of life, reduces poverty, it improves quality of life, it reduces poverty. Discuss three factors that influence the development of the Dubai Trade Port. Just like we spoke about here, the factors that will favor the development of Dubai Trade Port. So, three factors that influence the development of the Dubai Trade Port. Discuss three factors that influence the development of Dubai Trade Port. So you choose which one you want. Dubai Trade Port has huge, effective infrastructure that leads to the growth of the Dubai Trade Port. Number two, choose the shorter ones. You can say the two seaports ensures that there is enough export and import of goods there. Then we choose another short one. There is a government support which provides money, or we provide incentives for the industries in the area. So just choose any three short ones that we can get there. Now, let's quickly go to informal sector. What you should know, you should be able to define an informal sector. What is an informal sector? What is an informal sector? it simply refers to all unregistered businesses. Informal sector refers to all unregistered businesses. According to the graph, what percentage of South Africa's population is classified as the informal sector? So according to the graph, this is what you do. You look at the percentages that are given there. Give economic reasons that have led to such a large informal sector. So this one is a concept. This one is a concept. You need to know, why do we have high informal sector in South Africa? Number one is because of unemployment. There is high level of unemployment in South Africa. Number two, there is retrenchment of people that were working. Number three is because of high level of rural urban migration. Rural urban migration. And then lack of qualifications. Lack of qualifications. These are some of the factors that will lead to a high involvement in informal sector. Now, explain the economic importance of the informal sector. Economic importance. Create jobs. That's number one. People save money because products are cheaper. So these are the economic importance. These are economic importance. So it creates jobs. It reduces poverty. Okay. Then we have, in a paragraph of approximately 8 lines, suggest strategies that could be implemented to improve the sector. What can be done to improve the sector? Let's quickly go to what can be done to improve the sector. Number one, you can provide the traders with infrastructure. You can do skill development for informal traders. You can make partnership with the formal sector. You can regulate but not register. You can regulate the sector. You can provide loans and subsidies for informal sector. And this is the last topic that I wanted to talk about, which is support, which is informal sector. And I want to wish you well in your last paper of your 2025 examination when it comes to geography. This is your last paper. Have enough study and make sure that you sleep early and have enough rest. And I say good luck for your examinations.